It's all about the risk, isn't it? It's a different type of business.
Different type of business.
The inherent delivery contractual risks, whether they can find the people to do the work and deliver it, and save the organization money against using a big contractor, a big outsourced firm provider.
Yeah.
Depends. That might be the case, but have they got the capabilities to manage it effectively? Have they got the appetite for risk? Can they separate the entity out effectively? I think in the UK, I mean, some of it was tied to the kind of like issues around misclassification, 1099 versus W2 in the US, IR35 in the UK. When those laws changed, a lot of staffing firms tried to jump on the bandwagon of delivering project services, as I tend to call it. But really, it is very different to delivering a staffing solution. Yeah. Some organizations, and we work with some organizations that are very effective at it. Some of them have typically been doing it for quite a while and then just got to the point where they needed to automate and get some technology in place to manage that kind of back-to-back SOW process. But really, if you compare SOW management with a contingent workforce MSP solution, that's much more, although they're very, very different work delivery channels, there's a similar problem-solving set that you're dealing with. And it's more about managing the suppliers, managing bids, making sure the process happens effectively, applying some input to make sure pricing and scoping is done effectively, and then helping the organization manage the logistics of the process, bringing in technology, helping them adopt technology as the enabler for that. Whereas delivering project services is so different that it's a big leap for a lot of these organizations, unless they acquire somebody like you've got a Codis and people like that out there, where it's kind of built in, and acquisitions and mergers and stuff like that that make it very effective.
Yeah, no, it's one of those realizations that both buy side and sell side have really had struggled to recognize and incorporate that recognition of the differences between managing those two different types of programs or two different types of engagements. The MSPs, as we were talking earlier, they still struggle with understanding what it takes to deliver great SOW management services. A lot of MSPs tried to do that with their existing temp labor MSP staff, and it fell flat. And it's been part of the reason why this credibility gap has developed within the MSP group, because they haven't, not all of them, I'm not painting with a broad brush here, but you can tell when an MSP provider has really invested in building out a team that understands SOW, services procurement, not only how to manage it, but how to transactionally support it. And in a MSP that has not yet made that investment or that shift. There's very limited capabilities of what they can do with their existing staff. And I'm not saying that's not a value add. I'm just saying it's of very limited value, and is not something that a company, a client, organization could grow with, right? When you go in and find an external provider of SOW MSP services, whether it be an MSP, a standalone business, or even internally, you have to recognize that what the company needs in support of that. That's why in my current role at eTeam, we've really focused on compliance and operations, because most organizations that are pretty far down on the maturity curve are really looking for Gen 1, maybe Gen 2 SOW support solutions. And the focus really continues to be, control and visibility over the transactional activity and the spend. And bringing that SOW tail spend under control. We're seeing, a lot of technology, AI influenced technology, starting to address that for the larger pools or buckets of spend in the tail spend. But even outside those, there's a lot that you can do with a VMS technology like yours, even just a service layer that can bring, if not all of it, at least the majority of it, under more active management. I mean, I hesitate oftentimes when I'm talking about first or second generation solutions to use the term best practice, because really that's up here. What you need is just a slightly better practice to get started, right? So getting that control and visibility is like table stakes. And then what you do with that really starts to put you on a maturity path that will tell where you're heading. I'm that you see in talking to prospects and customers, understanding what maturity your stakeholders are, either the procurement organization or the program that's looking at your technology to do SOW. Understanding where they are on the maturity path in their organization is really important to what kind of solution that they'd really be open to,